Welcome to the Epic Success Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Shannon Irvin. Today on the podcast, we have the amazing Chad Willardson. He's the founder of Pacific Capital, which is a group that really helps entrepreneurs invest wisely. He's also has a mastermind called Fully Invested, and he just wrote this amazing new book called Fully Invested. This is all around why work-life balance is a total lie and the 7 strategies to win big in business and at home. I'm super honored and super excited to have him on the podcast. I have been following him for the last couple years, and his advice has really helped my family just go to a different level. And so I'm excited to bring him to you today. Let's get into the podcast. Here we go. Chad Willardson. Chad, welcome to the Epic Success Podcast. Super stoked to have you.
Thank you. I love the name of the podcast, by the way. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. So this piece of gold is what we're talking about today, Fully Invested. I already talked to my listeners about kind of your street creds and all of the things you've done with Pacific Capital. But I love what you're doing in this because it's what any of us that have been listening to for a while, you've really espoused, which is stop trying to balance it all.
Yeah.
And
that's a great way to say it.
Yeah. And the reality is you are a family man. You have kids. So this isn't one of those things where, we're hearing this from somebody that doesn't have all of those elements going on in their life and they're saying, go all in, right? Well, that's easier to do when you don't have all that. So I would love for you to talk about the cost of going all in. I know you talked about that in the book, but in the entrepreneur space, there's a lot of people who want the 7, 8, 9-figure businesses.
Yep.
But there's a cost to being half in, right?
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Yeah. And I'll just share on I have 6 back-to-back podcasts. Here's the studio. And before I got here, I dropped my middle son off at high school basketball practice. And then I went home and helped make breakfast and took my 2 youngest to their orthodontist appointment, dropped them off. And they had to wait in the waiting room until my wife got there. And then I rushed here to the studio. And I just think trying to balance it all. First of all, the 21-year-old life coaches or people who are 23 years old and have no kids, and they're just like, we all have the same 24 hours. And I'm like, no, we don't.
Not really.
We don't really have the same 24 hours. But I really think that we kid ourselves and we pretend that we can't be successful at home and in work, in business.
Yeah.
And it's an excuse that's comfortable. And so, unfortunately, most people I see that are ultra successful have chosen to just abandon the family.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart, honestly, because I just feel that faith and family are so important as a foundation. And so my goal is to be the message to counteract the hustle culture of succeed at all cost and scale and grow, but who cares what happens? You just got to put in your 10 years and, so that's just not my thing. The cost of being half in is twice as much.
Oof.
And I say that because if you're half in on anything, you're going to feel that constant nagging guilt and that drift. And I think you actually do worse in your family and your business when you feel that. When you're at work, you're like, oh, I'm missing stuff. I should be at home. And when you're at home, you're checking your emails and your messages at the dinner table. You're not succeeding in either. And I think that's extremely costly.
Super costly and not how we were, I'm a faith girl. So I talk to that lens, faith and science all the time. And the reality is we were called to be extraordinary. We were called to follow an extraordinary God that made us more than we could ever ask or imagine. And so why do you think people ask so little of themselves, even though they want so much?
I think people naturally want the easy path.
Yeah.
And so on social media, it seems glamorous and easy to be rich and successful.
Yeah.
And it's not that easy. And it's also it's also not that easy to be successful at home. I think people make a lot of excuses and we outsource a lot of the important family things in our life at the expense of work. And it's like eventually that's going to catch up to us.
Yeah.
So I think we don't expect much from ourselves. We say, oh, I don't have time to do all these things. But then if you really look at your screen time, you do have time. You're just using it elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that idea of if I'm thinking about doing it, then I'm actually doing it.
Right.
And we're tricking ourselves into believing we're spending all this time doing something where we're not taking action. And I want to dive into the big 8 that you talk about in the book, but I would be remiss to not ask you this. You and your company, you manage trillions of dollars of assets across most of the ultra elite entrepreneurs. So this is a pool you've been playing in, not for the last year or two, but for decades now. And so I would love for you, for those who are winning, that they aren't trying to balance it, but they have healthy family and faith lives and their businesses are in that 1%. What are you seeing that's uncharacteristically different about that group versus the mainstream group that's trying to get to their first million in the business, let's say?
Discipline and boundaries. Those are the 2 things I see differently amongst the ultra successful who are thriving at home and thriving at work. They have discipline and they have boundaries and they say no. There are a lot of opportunities that we can say yes to. And even if there's just social opportunities, but that are not advancing anything for work or family. I think giving up some selfish habits allows us to be more successful at home and work. And so becoming less selfish.
Yeah.
What else?
What are some examples of that, though? I'd love for you to get under that.
Netflix binging. It's like I don't have time to do these things at home, but I'm going to watch 2 hours a night because this is a great show and everyone's talking about it. Or,
right.
I think that you can succeed if you cut out waste. There's a lot of things that I had to cut out. Like I haven't really watched TV or I really don't watch movies. My wife wishes I did. I just don't. I'm like, if I want to succeed big in business, there's things that I had to cut out. And so I did.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like I'm missing anything for it. Mm-hmm. I feel like we have a very full and thriving family life, and I'm not missing out on much. People might say, "Oh, did you see that show? Did you see this or that?" And I have nothing to add, and I get teased for it, but I'm all right.
Yeah. What is it? It's not going to end up on the eulogy like you watched all the episode of Friends. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. Yeah. In the end, it's not going to matter much.
Yeah. No. So discipline. I want you to define what that means, because I think people think they understand what that is. Yeah. And I was just having this conversation inside my program, and it's that discipline isn't you doing what you love to do a lot. That's actually not discipline. So I'm curious, how do you define that word when you say that's an attribute that you see so frequently amongst
doing what needs to be done when you don't feel like it?
Amen.
That's the way I would define it. So there are many things I don't feel like doing. I set a goal in 2020, but like right when COVID started, I had people on LinkedIn saying, "Hey, I would love to, have you written a book?" I kept getting this question. It was like 1 month where suddenly people are saying, "Have you written a book?" And I said, "You know what? I'm going to write 10 books in 10 years. And
I know what that means now.
Yeah, that was kind of said flippantly, but it was public. And now I'm 6 books in 6 years. And I don't know what my next book is ever about. It's always a challenge.
Yeah.
I don't feel like starting over every single time, but I do it because I committed to it. And I think there are a lot of things that if we just set better boundaries, even with our calendar, I'm very particular about what gets on my calendar now. Maybe a decade ago, I wasn't. I would say yes to lots of things. My assistants could book things on my calendar without permission. Right. Now it's extremely protected. So saying no to lots of opportunities. Hey, we'd love to have you speak at this conference. It's this and this and this. I might not say yes. And so there are a lot of things that I politely say no to that I used to say yes to.
Wow. So it's just really that hemming in of, if you say you want this, are you willing to do what needs to be done? So thanks for that little diversion. I know that's separate, but I also know after listening to you for a while, you talk about this a lot. So that it is the difference maker. So in the book, you start to talk about vision and elevating your future and mindset, but you start with this big 8. I'd love for you to talk about the big 8, why you think those are the most important things to take a look at before you start.
Yeah. So I think I love the quote. Many people have said it, so I'm not going to pick one person, but all progress starts by telling the truth. And so assessing where you currently are and what matters to you today.
Yeah.
And that could shift in 3, 6, 9, 12 months. But if you rank the 8 categories I like to use in Elevated, you rank these 8 categories and then you rate yourself 1 to 10, you can see where the improvements need to be made. Yeah. And then you can find people to be mentors or content that can help you. But it's health and wellness, and this is in no order: key relationships, money and wealth, family, faith and spirituality, personal growth, business, and fun and adventure. And those are the 8 life categories that I feel like if you can really shift and see what matters to you today, where you need help in, then you can constantly basically keep a pulse or keep the temperature of what's going on in your life.
Do you see many people actually, well, in my experience, because a lot of what I'm doing is helping people achieve more in less time just through the power of neuroscience. And so many people, they buy the internet fantasy. You know, you're going to get there in 1 million, you'll have it in 2 months. They start climbing this ladder in their business. They might have some success, and then they build the team that somebody else told them to build. They build the systems somebody else told them to build, and they're climbing the technical ladder, but it's becoming somewhat of a prison. Have you had any experience of that yourself? And if so, like, what made you so religious, so to speak, on making sure that that doesn't happen?
I think what made me just resist the prison of being trapped by complexity is knowing what I would not be able to do if I was, which is I wouldn't be a present husband or father.
Yeah.
I wouldn't keep my commitments in my faith if I was trapped with too many commitments. And so, having boundaries and seeking more freedom with leverage and systems and people and opportunities, to me, that's the end goal has always given me the path. And the end goal is to be able to impact lots of people, to have fun at work, to do what I'm good at and not what I'm not good at, and to still have lots of time and resources for family and friends.
Yeah.
And so if I can achieve that and find ways to do that without compromising any of my principles, then I'm going to do that, and I'm going to continue to grow in that pathway.
Yeah. Do you feel like you get a lot of pressure to kind of get on the wide path, so to speak, and be in that area? Or do you feel like you've gotten that kind of dialed in protectively now?
Yeah, it's very dialed in now. I would say 5 to 7 years ago, yes, more so. But every year I've gotten more clear and more, I guess, more strict in my boundaries. And I've got multiple full-time assistants that protect me. And
yes, they do. They're awesome.
Yeah, so I'm sure you spoke with one of them, but yeah, they're awesome. They keep everything in line for me. If I didn't have them, I'm sure I would be left to my own devices. I would be a mess. So
yeah, because you're a visionary, high visionary, right? And most of my listeners are. And I think the key thing that I'm honing in on is you iterated to that place. Do you think, standing from where you are now, if you would have started that a decade ago, you would be able to go faster? Or do you think that's just a process people have to go through and iterate through?
I don't think I could have gotten here much faster. Nothing I've done has ever been overnight success. It's never been fast.
Never is. So, yeah. That's the lie right there, right?
Yeah, I've made good hires and bad hires. I've started businesses or invested in things that didn't work, but over time I just learned through my mistakes and struggles, and I've gotten just much clearer on how things should work.
Yeah. So I'm thinking through, because I want to honor our time frame together. because here's the thing, my listeners looking at the screen here, make sure you click the link and get this book. In fact, I think we're gonna do a contest around it of some sort. So
Oh, cool.
if you buy the book and you DM, copy Chad and I both, and let us know that you got it, we will have a contest where we'll do some kind of cool event that you'll win a seat to if you're buying the book. And the reason why I'm doing that, I mean, it matters so much to me, is because you talk about, and I'm not going to talk about it on the podcast, the way you talk about vision is so aligned with how the brain works. And so few people, in my experience, understand that and understand how to craft vision. So I'm gonna do that cliffhanger so they feel like, wait, she's saying that, I better go grab the book. But
And that's good. That's news to me because I'm not a super smart guy. I just wrote what I thought.
I always say the doctor in front of my name stands for desperate enough to get a PhD to figure out what ceiling was there. So, but here's what I'd love for you to talk about. In my estimation, you have built serious championship teams. I'd love for you to dive in. You talk about it in the book. What creates a championship team? What kind of leader do you need to be able to attract those kind of people? Let's start there. And because you approach teams, I believe, a little bit differently than most people do.
What I found entrepreneurs struggle with is giving up control. And they feel like they need to be in charge, or they need to be in control, and they need to have a say. And if you were to ask my team and my people, I am the most opposite of that. I don't think there's anyone more like trusting and empowering. I just can't imagine it, because I really do trust my people. And has it burned me before? Yes, it absolutely has.
Yeah.
I've hired and trusted people and they didn't do well. But for the most part, we have championship teams right now in each business. And on my inner circle employees, the team members there are superstars. I really believe in putting people where they thrive, and what are they strong at? What do they love to do? Where can they make the most impact? I remember one activity where we had the entire team in one of my businesses. They wrote down on a sticky note all the tasks in their job that they really dislike, and they put it up on the board in the conference room. And I said, all right, everyone go up there and see if you can take 5 to 7 things. And what's crazy is what some people hated, other people were really excited about. And it had nothing to do with their role. It was outside their role. One of them was like wrapping packages that are gifts for clients, like wrapping mail packages. And someone said, this is my favorite thing. Like, I love wrapping Christmas presents and I get so excited. And the person who was doing it dreaded it every week.
Wow.
And so to me, it was like just reshifting tasks in a way that lifted energy and didn't drain energy. And so I want people to love coming to work and doing their jobs.
Yeah.
And so a leader needs to be super clear about the role and the vision of where they're headed, and make room for everybody to be excited to be a part of that vision and that success journey. And so I feel like we've done a good job at that. And I don't have to micromanage anybody. These people are totally filled up with energy and excitement to do their work.
I love that. So one of the big things I talk about a lot is with your team, creating internal owners. And this is one of the
things, that's good.
Yeah, that I see you do so naturally. It's part of your natural personality, where so many entrepreneurs don't want to. I always give the visual of like entrepreneurship is like running in a relay race, except for the entrepreneur never lets go of the baton and wonders why it's going, why it's not working out so well. You more naturally want to trust people and want that. I do too, because it is what gets your freedom. It is what gets you the time to be able to work on higher elevated things. What have been some of your key ways that you've been able to transfer ownership to your team so they really internally, intrinsically own it?
I think spending time getting to know them and understanding what excites them, what they want, and then relating to them how our company goals and how serving our clients fulfills what they want. And so connecting their wants to our mission, I think that's one thing. Another thing is extreme clarity when giving a task or a project. So I've created some tools and resources inside of Elevated where I never delegate. Like I don't throw the baton. I don't
You don't
toss
knock them in the head with it.
Yeah. So I pass the baton very thoughtfully, and I make sure that before I wipe my hands of this project, they are super clear about what the expectations and goals are, what the obstacles are, who the resources are. Like it's very clear. So it's not just me throwing out. A lot of entrepreneurs just, here's what I want, and they kind of just barf up their brain ideas, and it doesn't go anywhere. And then there's confusion, and then there's miscommunication, and there's misaligned expectations, and that's a result of not communicating well up front.
Yeah, love that. And it's back to the vision for what you're transferring. And I didn't hear, and I'm just pointing this out, Chad knows this, but he didn't say this is how you're going to do it. He said, here's
Correct.
why, here's what, here's who, and you're trusting your people to come up with the how. I think that.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with the how. Actually, lots of times I don't want to know the how.
Right.
He'll start explaining to me, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm like, hey, hold on. I don't need to know this. Like, I trust you to get it done. I'm like, okay, I just thought I should explain it. I'm like, nope, you don't have to explain that.
Yeah. Yeah. I say I'm a recovering control. So the more I know, the more it tempts me. And so that's exactly, I'm protecting myself in that sense from jumping back in the pool when the pool is perfect the way it is. So
there you go.
So much. All right. So I want to wrap up with you have a whole chapter on the power of presence.
Yep.
We actually were just talking about that in relationship to the team and how you transfer ownership. But I feel like this is an art that was very common, long time ago. And in today's day and age, AI is making presence even less. People are less capable of presence because their brain is starting to shrink. I'm not going to go into all that. But how do you practice presence in the different arenas of life?
I think what I've thought about in the last couple of weeks is that a person's success is tied to their ability to put their phone away.
Yeah.
And that's super simple and rudimentary maybe, but I see it in my teenagers. I see it in myself. When I'm disciplined with my phone habits, my presence increases and my impact increases. When I'm not, and I'm not perfect at it, when I'm not disciplined with my phone, I don't succeed as much. I'm less present, I'm less focused, and it's not a good feeling. And so, I went to dinner with a friend last night in Los Angeles. We met for dinner, went to the Lakers game together, and we're at a very nice restaurant in the steakhouse in downtown LA. And the people next to us, it was clearly a couple and their two teenage children. And all four of them had elbows on the table and phones in the face. And this is like a white tablecloth, nice restaurant. And I just thought, I looked over a few times and I'm like, man, I do not want to ever be caught like that. Like, it was a bummer. I'm like, this is a $100 a plate type of fancy restaurant, and it's a family. And I'm like, I just, I had my phone in my pocket and my do not disturb on. And my friend who I met with actually was taking a work call as we were getting seated, and he could see that my phone was in my pocket. So I just sat there and I waited. And he's like, hey, I got to finish this call. I'm at a dinner with a friend. I got to go. And it's like, if someone has to be the leader and manage that and be present, otherwise nobody will. It's too tempting not to be.
Yeah. And it gives that essence of getting things done, but in reality, it's really an illusion. So hard to win at business and at home if you're not present in either, right?
100%.
I love it. All right. We'll wrap on that. I want to make sure everybody gets their hand. Check the link below. 7 strategies to win big in business and life. Chad, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. And
Thanks for having me.
Excited for my listeners to get connected with you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good luck on the book.
Thank you.
All right. So I've been following Chad for a very long time at Pacific Capital. He writes this newsletter that I get every single week. And honestly, is one of a handful of people that's in the billion and trillion dollar industry that puts faith family, and business in a way that he's able to win at both, and he talks about them all and honors them all. So I'm super excited for you to grab this book, Fully Invested, and be blessed by learning through someone who has walked the talk. All right, that's what I have for you this week on the Epic Success Podcast. Go down to the show notes, grab the book, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week on the Epic Success Podcast. Bye for now.